They say time is the one force that cannot be outrun. That no matter how fast you move, it hunts you patiently, relentlessly, until the final heartbeat. But what if time itself blinked and you kept running? Welcome, traveler of light and shadow. Stay with me until the end of this tale, and I promise you'll witness what happens when the fastest man alive defies reality itself, and discovers a universe where hope has been extinct for 10,000 years. The air crackled with red lightning. Barry Allen, the Flash, was dying. Every atom of his body screamed with the pressure of infinite velocity. The speed force, that eternal current of power that once felt like home, had turned wild. It howled through his veins like a god unchained. His world, the familiar streets of Central City, had shattered behind him, dissolving into ribbons of light. Ahead lay something vast and wrong, a storm that wasn't a storm, but a wound, a tear in reality. It pulsed in colors he had no words for. It was cold and hot, silent and deafening, calm and infinite chaos. He didn't understand, and for the first time in his life, that terrified him. He remembered Iris, her voice, her warmth, her laugh, the human things that kept him grounded, but they were slipping away. Every second stretched into eternity, and he could feel himself coming apart, molecules scattering across universes. "Run, Barry," a voice whispered, but it wasn't hers. He ran, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. The speed force demanded it. It was instinct, survival, destiny. Lightning split the fabric of space and time, and in a blinding instant, Barry Allen, the Flash, vanished from his world. He fell through the storm. There was no up, no down, only motion, raw and endless. He saw stars being born and dying in the same breath. He felt the gravitational pull of galaxies swirl past his fingertips. He crossed the speed of light, then shattered it, then left it so far behind that light itself seemed motionless. And then silence. He crashed. The ground was not asphalt, not soil, but metal, cold, black, ancient. He tore a trench into it miles long before he came to rest among mountains of ash and bones. When he tried to stand, his knees gave out. The world around him burned under a sickly crimson sky, filled with screaming clouds and the faint echo of distant cannon fire. Barry coughed, his breath steaming in the chill. Where am I? No answer, only the shriek of the wind and the endless thrum of battle somewhere beyond the horizon. He could still feel the speed force, but it was wrong, twisted, like something was inside it, whispering, watching, reshaping it. He'd always felt peace when he tapped into that power. Now he felt teeth, human. A metallic voice rasped behind him. He turned too slowly. His body was sluggish, his sense of time fractured. A squad of towering soldiers in black armor surrounded him. Their armor bore the sigil of an imperial skull, glowing faintly under the red lightning. Their eyes, hidden behind lenses of ceramite, burned with suspicion. "Identify yourself," one barked, his voice amplified through vox filters. "Are you warp-born?" Barry blinked. "Warp? What? I'm not." Before he could finish, they opened fire. Bolter rounds roared like thunder, tearing through the ground around him. Instinct took over. He ran, and in that moment the world slowed again. The soldiers' bullets hung in the air like drifting embers. The storm above froze mid-roar. He could see every droplet of rain suspended in the void. He moved between them effortlessly, crimson lightning trailing behind him like the brushstroke of an angry god. But the world wasn't right. The more he ran, the more he felt watched. The shadows seemed alive, pulsing, whispering, reaching. When he stopped, the soldiers were gone, or rather, what was left of them was. Their armor lay melted into the dirt, their bodies vaporized. Barry stared, horrified. I didn't mean to." Then the whisper came again. Speed is hunger. Speed is dominion. You are the first and the last. He clutched his head, collapsing to his knees. The speed force roared inside him like 1,000 voices, screaming at once. The sky above tore open, and something looked back. A face, vast and shifting, made of light and blood and madness. Its presence burned the mind like staring into a dying sun. Barry gasped, trembling, "What are you?" The voice answered not in sound, but inside his skull. "We are the warp. You run through our veins now." The ground cracked beneath him. Rivers of molten light split the landscape. Shapes began to crawl from the fissures, humanoid, monstrous, wreathed in shadow and laughter. Demons. Barry ran again, but no matter how fast he moved, they followed. The faster he went, the more the world decayed, time bending, landscapes repeating, his very sense of self fragmenting. He was bleeding speed now, crimson lightning tearing through everything it touched. The world became a blur of ruin and death. And then nothing. He stopped. There was no sound, no air, no light, just the faint pulse of something vast around him, like a heart beating within a cosmic corpse. He realized he wasn't standing in a world anymore. He was inside something, a machine, or maybe a cathedral, carved from the bones of stars. A figure approached, clad in robes of black and gold, a mask of iron hiding its face. Its voice echoed like thunder in a tomb. "You fell from the heavens," it said, a herald of red lightning. "Some among us believe you are the Emperor's vengeance made manifest. Others think you are a demon-given form." Barry staggered backward. I'm just trying to go home." The figure tilted its head. "There is no home here. Only the Imperium, only war." And as the lights of the vast hall flickered to life, Barry saw hundreds, no, thousands of figures kneeling. Priests, soldiers, machine, men, all chanting one phrase over and over, "The Emperor protects." But as he looked into their eyes, Barry saw only fear. Not devotion, terror. And in the reflection of their armor he saw himself, not as a man, but as a streak of red lightning tearing the world apart. The whispers grew louder. The warp pressed closer, and in the distance, something enormous, something divine, stirred. Barry Allen realized then that he had not escaped death. He had outrun it straight into hell. The storm was only beginning. That was the first thought Barry Allen had when he awoke, suspended in a column of green light, his body bound by fields of shimmering energy. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't even feel the speed force anymore, only a cold emptiness gnawing at the edges of his consciousness. When his eyes focused, he saw them, the robed figures, the symbol of the skull and cog, the glow of bionic eyes, and the mechanical whir of machines that breathed, spoke, and prayed all at once. The Adeptus Mechanicus. He didn't know their name, of course, not yet. All he saw were priests of iron whispering to machines as though they were alive, their every movement a sermon to something unseen. Specimen Gamma 13 stabilized, one croaked, its voice rasping through layers of distortion. Bioform unknown. Molecular instability suggests warp saturation. Potential demon host. Demon host. That word again. Barry tried to speak. His voice came out as a ragged whisper. "I'm not a demon. I'm human." The nearest Magos turned to face him. Its face was a lattice of metal, flesh replaced with whirring gears and optical lenses. It studied him like one might study a broken machine. "Human," it repeated, voice dripping with curiosity. "Impossible. No human moves faster than light. No human survives warp trance it unshielded. You are an anomaly." Barry struggled against the restraints. "I'm telling you, I'm not from here. I don't even know what this place is." The Magos leaned closer. "You are in the hands of the Omnissiah's faithful. The Inquisition has declared you property of the Emperor's will. You will speak only truth, or be reduced to atoms for study." The words hit him like ice. "Emperor," Barry muttered, "who?" But before he could ask, the doors of the chamber thundered open. The soldiers entered first, heavy, hulking giants in armor that gleamed like obsidian. Behind them strode a figure draped in a cloak of black silk, her presence colder than the steel around her. Her gaze was sharp enough to cut through souls. "Inquisitor Vale," the Magos said, bowing. She said nothing. She walked right up to the containment cell and stared at Barry. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was quiet, too quiet. "Do you know what happens to those touched by the warp?" Barry swallowed. "No, they burn," she said simply. "From the inside out. They become gateways for the enemy, and every second they live, they endanger humanity." Barry felt his pulse spike. "I'm not one of those things." Silence. She gestured, and the Magos activated a console. Electricity surged through Barry's body. His scream echoed through the chamber as arcs of red lightning erupted from his skin. The speed force flared, instinctive, desperate, and the lights across the facility shattered. Time slowed again. Barry's senses exploded outward, perceiving everything at once, every particle of dust, every vibration in the walls, every breath drawn by every living being in the room. He could feel the fabric of this universe, heavy, ancient, scarred by war. The air itself carried grief. He saw her, the Inquisitor, frozen mid-command, her finger pointing toward his death. He could end it all right now. Move, and she'd never see it coming. But something else caught his eye. The Magos terminal, and the symbol glowing faintly across the holographic display. The Imperial Aquila. A double-headed eagle, and below it, a word that sent a chill through him. Terra, Earth. This was Earth, or rather, what was left of it. He froze, his thoughts tangled in disbelief. He'd made it home, but not his home. This was Earth thousands of years in the future. And from the looks of it, humanity had become something unrecognizable. When time resumed, everything hit at once. The chamber exploded in chaos, power surges, alarms, fire. The Inquisitor shielded herself as Barry tore free of his bonds. The Magos screamed praises to the machine god as data streams overloaded. Barry stumbled forward, sparks crawling across his skin. "I don't want to hurt you," he said, voice trembling. "You already have." Vale spat, drawing her weapon. She fired. He moved faster than sight, faster than thought, and the bolt round froze mid-air. The world fell silent. He stared at her, at the rage in her eyes, the conviction, the sheer devotion to something she couldn't prove. In her, he saw the mirror of every zealot, every fanatic, every person who thought their truth was the only truth worth dying for. He whispered, almost to himself, "You don't understand. I didn't ask for this." He turned, and in a blink of crimson lightning, he was gone. He ran again, through tunnels carved by machines, through ruined cities that reached into storms, through forests of metal where mechanical trees wept oil. The world, this world, was not built for life. It was a mausoleum pretending to be civilization. Everywhere he went, he saw the same sigil, that same eagle, that same blind devotion. And everywhere he went, the whispers followed, "Speed is hunger. Speed is faith. Run, and you will understand." He tried to ignore it, tried to bury it, but the more he ran, the louder it grew. The warp was inside him now. He could feel it clawing at the speed force, twisting it into something cruel. He stopped only when he saw the light, a distant, holy glow that cut through the storm clouds. A massive cathedral stretched toward the heavens, its spires crowned in flame. Statues of golden angels loomed over the city below. And there, in the heart of it all, was a man, or something pretending to be one. Barry didn't know it yet, but he was looking upon the greatest secret of the Imperium, a being who had not spoken in 10,000 years, sustained by machines and faith alone. The Emperor of Mankind. Barry fell to his knees, exhausted. "I don't belong here," he whispered to the air. "Please, if anyone can hear me, send me home." For a long moment there was only silence, then the world shuddered. A voice, impossibly vast, ancient, commanding, whispered in his mind. "Home," it said. "You left home long ago, child of lightning. You run in circles because you fear to stop." Barry's heart stopped. The air was alive with golden energy. "Who are you?" he breathed. "I am the beginning and the end of man. I am the stillness you defy." The golden light dimmed, leaving him in the dark once more. And as he looked up, he saw the Inquisitor again, her weapon aimed, her eyes burning with judgment. By decree of the Holy Inquisition, she declared, "You are hereby condemned. You are no man. You are a curse." The soldiers took aim. Barry raised his hands, his voice breaking. "Don't do this. Fire." And then the universe stopped. Time froze, not slowed, stopped entirely. Even the wind itself hung motionless. Barry stood alone in stillness, trembling. His breath echoed across infinity. In that moment, he realized the truth. He hadn't escaped the warp. He was the warp now, or something far worse. A curse, a blessing, a paradox of motion that this world could never understand. He was no longer running through time. He was running against it, and time was beginning to lose. Somewhere, far away, something vast stirred and laughed. That was the thought that haunted Barry Allen as he ran through a dead world, the storm chasing him like a living thing. The sky above wasn't just red anymore, it bled. The stars flickered like dying candles, their light smothered by shadows that whispered his name. He'd always believed in motion, in the idea that if you just kept running, you could fix anything, outrun guilt, regret, fear. But this place didn't work like that. Every step he took felt heavier. Every breath carried weight. Every time he tapped into the speed force, reality bent and screamed. Something inside him was breaking, and something inside the universe was answering. He stopped at the edge of a chasm, a canyon torn straight through the crust of the planet by orbital bombardment. The air shimmered with psychic residue, echoes of death, and rage so thick they almost had form. He could see them. Faces, thousands of them, burning in silence. Barry dropped to his knees, trembling. "No more, please, I didn't mean to." And then he heard it, laughter. It came from nowhere and everywhere at once, a sound like broken glass and honeyed venom. It danced through the air, curling around his thoughts until he could almost see the shape of it. From the shadows stepped a figure, tall and terrible. Its armor was molten brass, its eyes twin suns of hunger. Wings of living flame stretched from its back, casting the world in crimson light. A demon prince, a being of chaos, a god's champion. "Little spark," it purred, voice echoing in Barry's skull. "You run, and the warp runs with you. You burn, and we are warmed by your fire." Barry stumbled backward, lightning flickering across his hands. "Stay away." The demon smiled, too many teeth for any human mouth. "Do you know what you are, mortal? You are the first of your kind. You are motion made flesh. Even the changer of ways watches you and smiles." Barry clenched his fists. "I'm not part of your war." The creature tilted its head. "Not yet, but you will be. You cannot exist here without us. The warp is thought, emotion, fear, belief, and you are full of all three. The faster you run, the more you feed us." Its laughter grew deeper, shaking the stones beneath their feet. "You think you can save yourself by running, fool. Every step tears the veil wider. Every heartbeat births new demons. You are not a man, you are a storm." Barry's chest burned. You're lying, am I? The demon gestured, and reality folded. The ground beneath them turned to glass, and Barry saw himself reflected in it, infinite versions of him, each twisted, broken, bleeding red light. In one reflection, he wore golden armor and wielded lightning like a weapon, slaughtering men who prayed to the Emperor. In another, his face was gone, replaced by a gaping void filled with screaming light. In another still, he knelt before a throne of skulls, his eyes hollow and aflame. Barry looked away, trembling. No, no, that's not me. But it could be. The demon whispered, all possibilities exist here, all destinies, and the warp is hungry for yours. Lightning burst from Barry's skin. The demon only laughed louder, savoring the chaos. You see, it hissed. Every time you resist, you feed us more. Every time you deny, you grow brighter. You could be a god, little spark, faster than thought, swifter than eternity. Serve one of us, and we will show you what it means to be truly infinite. Barry's eyes blazed with red and gold. I don't serve anyone. He ran. The demon's laughter followed him, a sound that never seemed to fade. You already serve, Flash. You serve the lie that speed can save you. The world blurred again. He ran until the surface changed beneath his feet, from ash to steel, from steel to crystal, from crystal to something that pulsed like flesh. The planet itself was mutating under the touch of the warp, reshaping in his wake. He looked back and saw entire mountains collapsing into oceans of molten blood. His speed was killing the world. No, he whispered, stop, please stop. He tried to slow down, but the speed force wouldn't let him. It had never felt like this, alive, aware, almost predatory. He wasn't channeling it anymore, it was channeling him. Then he heard another voice, softer this time, feminine, calm, Barry Allen. It said, listen. He stumbled, skidding to a halt atop a ridge of black stone. The sky above shifted. A shape materialized, faint, ghost-like, radiant. A woman cloaked in light, her eyes like twin suns of understanding. Who are you? He breathed. I am not of the warp, she said. I am what it once devoured, the current before corruption, the echo before the scream, the speed force, Barry whispered. The figure nodded. You brought me here, Barry. You tore open the barrier between motion and madness. Now, both realities bleed into one. If you keep running, the warp will spread not just across this galaxy, but across all of time. Barry's pulse quickened. Then what do I do? Stop. I can't. Then you must choose where to go. Every step now decides a future. Every breath births a timeline. You are the fulcrum between hope and horror. Her form began to flicker, the warp pressing in around her like smoke. Find the truth of what you are, she whispered, or the warp will claim you as its own. And with that, she was gone. The storm returned, black and endless. Barry stood there, lightning crawling across his body, his heart hammering like a war drum. The ground beneath him trembled as demonic shrieks echoed across the horizon. He felt them, billions of them, watching, waiting, feeding on his indecision. He looked down at his hands. They glowed not just with red, but with something else, gold, the color of light, of memory, of home. He didn't know if it was the speed force or something greater, but it whispered a single word to him, run toward the truth. And so he did. He ran through the storm, through nightmares, through worlds collapsing into nothing. He ran until space itself tore open before him, and through that wound, he saw a city of impossible size, carved from metal and hate, floating in a sea of stars. The demon's voice echoed once more, faint but clear, welcome to the eye of terror, little spark. Let us see how fast you can die. The warp surged around him. Space folded. The speed force screamed. And for the first time since he'd entered this universe, Barry Allen screamed with it. The question burned through Barry Allen's mind as he stumbled out of the storm. His lightning had dimmed to a weak pulse, flickering against a landscape of ruins. Metallic plains stretched endlessly beneath a bleeding sky. The air stank of oil, ozone, and death. He fell to his knees, gasping. His body was no longer his own. Every molecule felt at war with itself, half bound to the speed force, half claimed by the warp. His vision split into afterimages of infinite realities. In one, he was ash. In another, he was divine. In this one, he was dying. He pressed a trembling hand to his chest. The heartbeat was still there, faint, erratic, desperate. "I can't keep doing this," he muttered. "If I run again, I'll tear everything apart." Then perhaps a metallic voice rasped behind him, "It is time to stop running." Barry froze. The speaker emerged from the shadows, hunched, cloaked, more machine than man. Tubes and pistons hissed along his spine. Half of his face was replaced by a steel skull. One mechanical hand clutched a staff crowned with a rotating cog and burning candles. His human eye, yellow and weary, regarded Barry with both awe and fear. "Who are you?" Barry asked. "I am Magos Delenn Varn," the figure replied, once of the Mechanicus, now condemned as Heertek. He inclined his head slightly, the motion jerky, unnatural. "And you, Red Lightning, are the proof that the machine god still dreams." Barry tried to stand. "You know what's happening to me. I have theories," the Magos said. "And data, always data." His voice clicked as gears shifted. "You are not warps, Bond, not demon. You are energy given will motion incarnate. The Omnissiah's spark, perhaps, the Emperor's forgotten code. I'm just a man," Barry said softly. "Impossible," Varn replied, stepping closer. "No man moves as you do. I have studied the warp my entire exile. I have seen psychers burn and demons scream, but you are different. You generate order within chaos. Your energy resists corruption even as it decays." Barry stared at him, the words barely making sense. "Order within chaos," Varn nodded. "If my theory is correct, your speed force may be older than the warp itself, a primordial pattern of reality. If we could harness it, we might heal the veil, restore balance." Barry's heart skipped. "You can fix this." Perhaps, but the Inquisition would call it heresy. To manipulate the warp outside sanctioned parameters is death. Barry managed a bitter laugh. "They already tried to kill me once." "Then we are both damned." Varn said, "Come, there is a place I can hide you and study you." They traveled for days, through ruins of titanic cities where machines still whispered prayers to dead gods, through wastelands scarred by orbital fire. Barry moved slower now, careful not to stir the storms that followed him. Varn's lair was hidden beneath the shell of a crashed Ark Mechanicus, an ancient ship that once mined the stars. Inside, the air was thick with incense and static. Cogitators hummed softly. Broken servitors hung from the ceiling like rusted angels. "This is my cathedral," Varn said, "a place where forbidden knowledge breathes." Barry looked around, uneasy. "You risk a lot helping me." The Magos chuckled, a sound like grinding metal. "I was exiled for asking questions the fabricator. General feared to answer. What is one more heresy?" For days they worked together. Varn dissected fragments of the speed force that leaked from Barry's body, capturing them in containment fields of hexed glass. He called them modus particuli, particles of divine motion. Each night, Barry felt the warp grow quieter. The whispers receded, replaced by something gentler, the hum of circuitry, the rhythm of Varn's muttered prayers to the machine god. It almost felt like peace. Almost. "Your energy output is stabilizing," Varn said one morning. "The integration field has prevented further warp contamination. You may yet live, Red Lightning." Barry smiled faintly. "That's the best news I've heard since I got here." Varn turned toward him, expression unreadable behind his mask. But there is a complication. The Inquisition has not forgotten you. Their ships orbit above this world even now. They call you the Warp Runner, an omen of the end times. Barry exhaled slowly. Then we don't have long. Indeed, Varn hesitated. There is more. Your energy is attracting attention, not just the Inquisition, something older, something hungry. Barry's stomach turned. The warp, worse, Varn said softly. The entities that dwell within it, gods of change and blood and despair, they see you as potential. They whisper to me through the datus, dreams. They offer me knowledge in exchange for your surrender. Barry's lightning flared instinctively. What did you tell them? The Magos bowed his head. I told them I served the Omnissiah, not them. There was something like pride in his tone, pride and sorrow. Before Barry could reply, alarms wailed through the facility. Red lights bathed the chamber. A servitor's voice echoed from the walls. Imperial signal detected. Inquisitorial strike team inbound. Varn turned to Barry, urgency in his voice. They have found us. Barry clenched his fists. I'll draw them away. You'll die, Varn said. Maybe, but you said this power could heal the warp. If that's true, someone has to protect it. Varn's optics whirred as he studied the human before him. You are irrational, illogical, reckless. Barry smiled faintly. Yeah, I get that a lot. The sky was aflame by the time the Inquisition landed. Drop pods fell like meteors, carving craters into the wasteland. Squads of stormtroopers marched across the plains, banners of the Aquila snapping in the wind. Barry stood at the edge of the ruins, red lightning crawling along his arms. His heart pounded not with fear, but resolve. He'd spent his whole life running to save lives. Maybe now he could do it one more time. He ran. The air exploded in thunder. Bolter fire cracked through the haze as he became a streak of crimson, weaving between the soldiers faster than thought. Their bullets turned to vapor as he passed. The ground itself tore apart in his wake. Inquisitor Vale herself descended from a transport, eyes burning with fury. You cannot hide from judgment, she shouted, voice amplified by Vox. Barry appeared before her in a flash, the heat of his aura scorching the earth. You don't understand, he pleaded. This power, it's not evil. It can fix things. Vale raised her blade, etched with holy runes. No power from the warp can fix anything. It only consumes. Then I'll prove you wrong. He vanished. The battlefield erupted in light. For a moment, every soldier saw eternity, infinite images of the same man, running faster than causality, bending space and time into a loop of light. When it ended, the inquisitorial forces were unconscious. Their weapons melted to slag. Barry collapsed, panting. His skin glowed with cracks of red and gold. And then he saw it, a beam of light streaking from Varn's facility. A detonation, a scream across the Vox. The Magos he triggered the reactor. Barry sprinted back, but it was too late. The ruins were gone, replaced by a crater of molten glass. At its center, half, buried in ash, lay the shattered frame of the Magos. Sparks flickered from his ruined core. Why? Barry whispered, kneeling beside him. Varn's one remaining eye flickered weakly. The Inquisition would have taken the date who twisted it. This way it dies with me. Barry's throat tightened. You didn't have to. The Magos reached up, his metallic fingers trembling. Listen, red lightning, your power, it is not curse. It is signal, signal. Varn's voice faded, metallic whispers barely audible. The Emperor dreams still, and he sees you. Perhaps you are his last hope. And with that, the light in his eye went dark. Barry sat there for a long time, the storm howling around him, the warp whispering once more. He looked up at the blood, red sky, and whispered, then I'll run, not for myself, for him, for everyone. Lightning surged, splitting the heavens. And somewhere far above, on the throne of gold, the Emperor's still eyes flickered for just a moment. The question echoed through Barry Allen's thoughts like a heartbeat made of thunder. The last words of Magos Varn replayed endlessly in his mind. The Emperor sees you. He had heard 100 names since falling into this universe: the Warp, the Imperium, the Machine God, the Emperor of Mankind. But that one name carried weight beyond any other. Billions worshipped him, trillions killed in his name, and if Varn was right, that same God was aware of Barry's presence. That terrified him more than any demon ever could. He stood on the edge of the ruined valley, staring toward the stars, where the Emperor's domain stretched like an empire of graves. The lightning within him pulsed erratically, as if responding to a silent call, faint, distant, but undeniable. Somewhere, in the heart of the Imperium, something vast and ancient was reaching back. Barry clenched his fists. "You wanted me to run, Varn, so I'll run to the source." He took one last look at the crater where the Hirtek had died and whispered, "Thank you." Then he vanished in a flash of red lightning that tore a line through the heavens. He ran across continents, through shattered hive cities, barren deserts, and the ruins of civilizations devoured by endless war. He moved faster than the eye could follow, faster than light. But still the warp whispered at the edges of his perception, a chorus of laughter and hatred that refused to fade. "You can't escape us, runner," hissed a voice that bled through reality. "You are energy, you are fuel, you are ours." He ignored it and ran harder. He passed fleets of ships suspended in void docks, battlefields where titans lay dead and rusting, and cathedrals built on bones. Every step took him closer to the heart of the Imperium and the throne. Days, weeks, maybe months passed. Time lost meaning. Finally, the stars opened before him, and there it was, Terra, the cradle of humanity. It was nothing like the stories. The world was smothered in ash clouds and holy fire. Colossal walls rose like mountains, wrapped in void shields and banners depicting the Emperor's golden visage. Tens of billions lived and died in its hive spires, their prayers merging into a single psychic storm that echoed across the galaxy. Barry stood in orbit, motionless, lightning flickering quietly. For the first time he hesitated. "How do you reach a god who can't even move?" he whispered. The moment he entered the atmosphere, the warp screamed. Reality shuddered around him as anti-psyker defenses activated, golden shields of faith, purity seals igniting in blinding bursts. Alarms blared from orbital defense towers. The Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's golden guardians, turned their gaze to the intruder that had dared to descend without sanction. He landed hard on the marble steps of a vast sanctum, surrounded instantly by armored figures who moved with inhuman precision. Each one stood taller than him, their armor glowing with the light of the Emperor's blessing. One raised a halberd. "You trespass upon the holy world, anomaly. Identify yourself." Barry raised his hands, light crackling around his palms. "My name is Barry Allen. I'm not here to fight. I was sent." The custodian tilted his head slightly. "By whom?" Barry hesitated. "By someone who believed the Emperor is still dreaming." For a moment, silence. Then the custodian's stance shifted imperceptibly, but enough. "Explain yourself." Barry took a breath. "I'm not from here. I don't even belong to this universe. My power, the speed force, it connects me to time, energy, life itself. But ever since I arrived, I've felt something pulling me toward this world," toward him. The custodians did not speak, but Barry felt the pressure of their presence, like standing before statues carved from divine will. Then, without a word, the lead custodian turned. "Follow." Barry blinked. "You believe me?" "No," the warrior said. "But if the Emperor dreams, he will decide your fate." They led him through sanctums that dwarfed imagination, cathedrals built upon cathedrals, corridors lined with golden reliefs depicting the Emperor's victories. Every inch radiated reverence and despair, and then they reached it, the golden throne. The chamber stretched for miles, filled with light so bright it hurt to see. At its center sat a figure of impossible scale, a corpse, God bound in machinery, wires burrowing into what was once flesh. The air vibrated with psychic pressure, the sound of a mind that had not stopped screaming for 10,000 years. Barry fell to one knee instinctively. His lightning dimmed, his breath caught in his throat. He could feel it, not just power, but the weight of an entire species' hope and sin. The custodian's voice was a whisper beside him. "Behold, the master of mankind." Barry's voice trembled. "He's still alive." In a manner of speaking, the custodian replied. Then the impossible happened. The throne's light flickered. The psychic hum shifted. Barry felt the world pause. A voice entered his mind, deep, ancient, and filled with pain. "You are not of my realm." Barry gasped. The words weren't sound. They were thunder rolling through the marrow of his soul. He bowed his head. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You have brought motion into stillness, energy into decay." Barry looked up, meeting the faint glow of the Emperor's eyes. "If I can help you help this world, tell me how." For a moment the god said nothing. Then the air vibrated again. "The warp feeds on suffering, on death, on despair. I have held it back for 10 millennia, but my strength fades. You, runner, you carry a spark that resists corruption. You could strengthen, veil, or shatter it entirely." Barry's pulse quickened. "Then use me, channel it. I'll give whatever it takes. You do not understand what you offer." Barry stood, voice firm. "I do. I've spent my life saving people at any cost. If I can stop even one more universe from falling into darkness, I will." For the first time, there was silence, the kind of silence that felt like an entire galaxy holding its breath. Then the Emperor's voice, soft as dying stars, "Very well. Then run, Barry Allen, run for mankind." The chamber exploded in light. Every servo, skull, every priest, every machine screamed as the air ignited in golden fire. Barry's lightning merged with the Emperor's psychic radiance, twisting into something new, a scarlet energy lined with threads of divine gold. He could see everything of the galaxy, the warp, the endless tide of chaos. His mind stretched beyond comprehension. And then he ran, through the throne's core, through the webway, through reality itself. Wherever he passed, the warp recoiled, demons burned, rifts sealed, worlds momentarily freed from corruption. Across the stars, people felt something they hadn't in millennia, hope. But the warp does not yield quietly. From the shadows between dimensions, something vast stirred. A god of change, its laughter echoing across eternity. Tease, Inch, the architect of fate, watched the runner pierce his domain and smiled. "So, the Emperor has found a new pawn. Let us see how fast a mortal can run when destiny itself becomes his cage." Back on Terra, the custodians shielded their eyes as the lightning storm vanished into the stars. He obeyed the Emperor's will. One said quietly. Another replied, or became its instrument. Far above, in the void between galaxies, Barry Allen ran faster than thought, unaware that the eyes of gods were now fixed upon him. He had become more than a man, more than a heretic, more than a savior. He was now the Emperor's shadow, a streak of divine motion tearing through a dying universe, chased by horrors older than time. That question gnawed at Barry's mind as he ran through the void. The stars were streaks of light, galaxies bending under the force of his speed. Behind him, the warp screamed in fury, its chaotic essence clawing at the edges of reality. But ahead, there was silence, a silence that watched. Barry felt it before he saw it, a presence so immense it didn't exist in space, but as space itself. The shadows of 1,000 futures swirled around him, whispering in languages that existed only as ideas. And then, from the void, came laughter, not mocking, not cruel, but patient, calculated. So, the little spark finally burns across my canvas. Barry skidded to a halt, boots digging into nothingness. He spun, lightning crackling wildly, but there was nothing. Only shifting color, ever-changing geometry, and the unbearable sensation of being observed. "Show yourself," Barry shouted. The void rippled. Reality folded inward like origami. A figure stepped forward, cloaked in blue fire, its face a shifting mask of eyes and mouths and impossible patterns. Each word it spoke sounded like 1,000 truths, and lies spoken in unison. "I am the one who made this game you now play, the changer of ways, the dreamer behind the Emperor's dream, the author of cause and effect. You may call me Tease Inch." Barry's breath caught. The Magos had mentioned the gods of the warp, but standing before one was like staring into madness given shape. "What do you want from me?" Barry demanded. Tease Inch tilted his head, or perhaps it was reality itself that bent around the question. "Want? No, runner. I wonder. You bring light into darkness, speed into stagnation, order into my chaos. You are an anomaly that does not belong, and that makes you precious." Barry clenched his fists, lightning flaring brighter. "You're not getting me." "Oh, my little lightning bolt, you already belong to me," Tease Inch cooed, stepping closer. "You run through the warp of my domain, and every footstep writes a new future. I simply rearrange them." Barry shook his head, defiant. "I make my own path." The god's laughter was like thunder and glass shattering. "Do you? Or are you still running from what you fear to face?" The void twisted, and suddenly Barry was standing in Central City. The streets were whole again. The air smelled of rain. And there, in the middle of the street, stood Iris. "Barry," she said, smiling softly. He froze. "No, you're not real." She stepped closer, eyes glistening. "Why do you always run, Barry, even now?" He shook his head, lightning crackling around his hands. "You're not her. She's gone. And yet you still run toward her." Tease Inch's voice echoed from everywhere. "Every step, every choice, every moment of defiance, all born from the same wound. You do not run for the light, runner. You run because you cannot stand still long enough to face your own pain." Barry's lightning dimmed. For the first time since entering this universe, he felt the truth of it. Every stride, every desperate attempt to help, to fix, to save, it was all motion without peace. "Maybe you're right," he whispered, "but I'm still running." The illusion shattered. Iris vanished. The world folded back into the warp's twisting chaos. Tease Inch's tone darkened. "Good, run, because every step fuels me. Every action you take ripples through destiny, reshaping the Emperor's dream into mine." Barry's lightning flared again, brighter, stronger, a burning scar across the warp's infinite canvas. "Then I'll outrun your plans too." The god's many eyes glowed with amusement. "Outrun fate, delightful. Let us see how far you get." And suddenly Barry was falling. Through worlds, through time, through history itself. Visions flashed wars yet to come, heroes not yet born, empires rising and falling in endless cycles. The 41st millennium blurred into the 42nd, the 43rd, and beyond. He saw humanity's light flicker, fade, reignite, and fade again. He saw the Emperor rise, not as a man, but as a force a golden storm chained by his own perfection. And he saw himself, a crimson streak running through every timeline, a constant in every future. He hit the ground hard, if there was ground. It was a battlefield, smoking and blackened. Corpses of both human and demon lay scattered. Above him loomed a broken titan, its reactor still burning. A voice groaned nearby. Barry turned to see a warrior crawling through the ash, clad in black armor trimmed with gold, his body twisted and cracked, yet his presence radiated raw power. Barry approached cautiously. "Who are you?" The warrior laughed weakly. "Once, I was Horus, son of the Emperor, slayer of my father, the first damned." Barry froze. Horus Lupercal, the traitor. The fallen Primarch's eyes burned faintly. "Once, perhaps, but now I am a shadow of what was. Even gods forget their champions eventually." Barry hesitated. "Why am I here?" Horus looked up, his expression grim. "Because the warp wants you to see what loyalty and destiny truly mean. I thought I could shape fate, serve something greater, and in doing so, I became the weapon that broke the galaxy." Barry knelt beside him. "I'm not like you." Horus gave a bitter smile. "Aren't you? You serve a master now too, don't you? The Emperor, his dream, his will. Tell me, runner, how long before you realize you've been running in circles? Inside his cage?" The words hit Barry harder than any blow. He wanted to deny it, but the truth of it lingered like poison. Horus reached out with a shaking hand, gripping Barry's arm. "If you want to be free, Lightning Man, stop running for them. Start running for yourself." And with that, his body turned to ash, carried away by a wind that didn't exist. Barry stood alone in the ruins, heart pounding. He looked up. The sky above was split, half golden light, half endless void. The Emperor's radiance against Inch's shifting storm. Both forces pulling him, both claiming him. The speed force inside him roared, uncertain which way to flow. Barry clenched his fists. "No more games. I don't run for gods. I run for life." And then he was gone again, a streak of red lightning tearing between the light of the Emperor and the shadow of chaos, refusing to belong to either. Far away, the Emperor stirred upon his throne, and in the warp, Inch smiled. "Excellent. Let the lightning choose its storm." The question echoed inside Barry's skull as he burst from the shadow of the warp and into the burning edge of real space. The universe twisted behind him like a wound refusing to close. The red and gold lightning that now crackled across his body pulsed with both order and chaos, the Emperor's light interwoven with the warp's storm. He didn't understand what he'd become, only that everything was watching him, from the smallest mortal who whispered his name in prayer, to the gods who whispered it as a threat. He was no longer just the Flash. He was something else, a paradox made flesh. He landed on a dead world, its sky torn by lightning that wasn't his. The soil beneath his feet shimmered with glassy veins, residue from psychic firestorms. The ruins of an imperial outpost lay ahead, and from its wreckage came the faint pulse of a dying astropathic beacon. Barry approached cautiously. The beacon sparked weakly, projecting the flickering image of a hooded woman, an astropath, her eyes sealed, her voice trembling. Into any imperial forces, warpstorm increasing, segmentum pacificus, lost, Emperor preserve us, then static. Barry reached out, touching the device, and felt something strange, a resonance, almost familiar. The warpstorm she'd spoken of wasn't natural. It pulsed like a heart, rhythmic, intentional. Someone was controlling it, of course. Barry muttered. Inch. The god of change wasn't done playing. The warpstorm wasn't just a storm, it was a trap. A lattice of probability woven across entire sectors, bending cause and effect like circuitry. and at its center was a signal, faint but unmistakable. The speed force. Barry's blood ran cold. He's trying to rewrite it. He looked up. The storm filled half the sky now, a churning mass of color, whispering with 1,000 voices. He could feel time unraveling around it. Worlds aging and dying in moments. Stars flickering between birth and collapse. The warp and the real were colliding. If T's inch succeeded, there would be no separation left, only his pattern. Barry set his jaw, then I'll break it before he finishes. He ran, across oceans of glass, across dead stars and shattered fleets. His body burned with power, his steps carved trails of light through the void. He breached the edge of the storm, and reality itself fought back. The air thickened with psychic density. Voices screamed his name, thousands of them, each a different version of himself. Barry, stop. Barry, we can't contain it. Barry, please, don't let it happen again. He saw flashes, visions from other timelines. Versions of himself swallowed by speed, by guilt, by endless running. Each one a warning, each one a ghost. He pushed through. Lightning clashed with warp, fire, and the storm opened before him like a wound. Inside was a vast network of shifting energy, rivers of psychic light twisting through space like veins. And at its center floated something that defied explanation. A crystalline engine, miles across, pulsing in sync with his own heartbeat. T's Inch's voice echoed through the storm, amused, curious, eternal. You came, runner. I knew you would. Always chasing, always saving. So predictable. Barry gritted his teeth. You're using the speed force to power this. Correct. Your gift, your curse, has made this possible. The warp is chaos unbound, but your energy adds structure. Together, they will birth a new pattern, a cosmos of my own design. Barry shook his head. You can't rewrite everything. The universe can't survive that kind of compression. Perhaps not, but in the destruction of order, new forms bloom. I am not cruel, lightning man. I am curious. The storm intensified. Barry could feel it, the pull of the speed force within the crystal. It wasn't just energy anymore. It was alive, screaming to be freed. It wasn't meant to be here, neither was he. He took a step forward, lightning flashing across his body. Then I'll free it, even if it kills me. T's Inch laughed. How human of you. Barry sprinted straight into the heart of the storm. The warp roared, time fractured. The crystal engine shattered into 1,000 timelines, each showing a different outcome. In one, he failed and the galaxy burned. In another, he succeeded but never returned. In others, endless others, he simply ran until he vanished from history. He could see them all, every possibility, every failure. But then, in the chaos, he saw one line that glowed brighter than the rest. A single path through the noise. It was him, but not alone. He saw a golden light, the Emperor's psychic will, merging with his speed. Together, they could stabilize the breach. Not destroy the warp, not conquer it, but seal it long enough for the galaxy to survive. Barry clenched his fists. All right, one last run. He reached inward, calling the golden spark the Emperor had placed within him back on Terra. It responded faintly at first, then roaring to life. His red lightning turned white, gold, radiant, searing. The storm shrieked as he ran. Each step rewrote the equations of the warp storm, converting chaos to harmony, madness to motion. T's Inch screamed in fury, not because he was losing, but because he hadn't foreseen this outcome. Impossible, you were my creation, my paradox. Barry's voice echoed through the storm, defiant. Then I'll be the paradox that ends you. He pushed harder. Faster, faster than light, faster than thought, faster than fate. The storm imploded. For a single moment, All of existence froze, every timeline, every future, every possible outcome balanced on the edge of one man's heartbeat. And then silence. When Barry opened his eyes, the storm was gone. He stood in empty space, surrounded by the dim glow of dying stars. His body flickered, unstable, part of him still phasing between realities. The speed force was quiet again, but so was the warp. For the first time since arriving, there was peace. But peace in Warhammer never lasts. A soft voice drifted across the void, not T's, Inch, not the Emperor, but something older, deeper, the kind of presence that existed before gods learned to dream. You have changed the pattern, lightning, but you have not escaped it. Barry turned toward the sound, but there was nothing there. Only the faint glimmer of a distant galaxy. He whispered to himself, "Then I'll keep running, until I do." And with a burst of golden, red lightning, he vanished into the stars once more. Far away, on Terra, the Emperor's eyes flickered open for the briefest instant. A single breath of life in 10,000 years. A whisper passed through the psychic winds of humanity. The lightning runs true. And in the warp, T's, Inch's laughter returned, quieter this time, but filled with anticipation. "Oh, my favorite game is only just beginning." That question was no longer hypothetical. Barry Allen now lived it. He wasn't in the warp. He wasn't in real space. He wasn't anywhere. The universe, all universes were gone from his perception, replaced by a vast, silver void. There was no up, no down, no sound. Only his heartbeat, slow, distant, echoing endlessly through eternity. He floated, motionless, surrounded by faint fragments of memory, flashes of Iris's smile, the Magos' dying words, the Emperor's light, and T's, Inch's laughter. They flickered like ghosts across the edge of consciousness. "Where am I?" he whispered, and for the first time in what felt like forever, there was no answer. The stillness was unbearable. The Flash, the man who lived for motion, was trapped in perfect immobility. Every instinct screamed at him to move, but there was nothing to move through. He tried running, but no matter how fast he went, he remained still. It was like sprinting on the surface of a mirror that only reflected himself. Panic set in. No, 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 I can't be stuck here. His lightning sparked, faintly, feebly, then faded. He fell to his knees, tears welling in his eyes. After everything, after all of that, I end up alone. The void didn't answer, but then slowly something shimmered ahead. A shape emerged from the light. Human at first glance, but vast, radiant, and calm. Its presence was neither oppressive like the Emperor's nor chaotic like T's, Inch's. It was balanced. "Who?" Barry began. The figure smiled faintly. "You don't know me." "Not yet, but I've known you since your first step." Barry frowned. "Another god. Not in the way you think. I am what remains when belief dies and truth endures. I am the space between creation and destruction. You could call me the still point." Barry blinked. "You're the opposite of me." The figure nodded, "In a sense. You are motion given purpose. I am purpose without motion. Together, we define the boundaries of everything that is." Barry swallowed. "Why am I here?" "Because you broke the rhythm." The still point said gently. "You ran so far that time lost its measure. You outran the warp, the Emperor, even destiny, and now the universe waits for you to decide what happens next." Barry stood in silence, absorbing the weight of those words. "So I can choose. Restart everything. You can," the still point said, "but every choice comes with a price. Restore the universe, and you must accept its suffering will continue. End it, and all life ceases. No war, no pain, but no hope either." Barry looked down. "That's not a choice. That's a punishment." "Perhaps," said the still point, "or perhaps it's an invitation to finally stop. To rest." The thought hit Barry like a hammer. rest, the one thing he'd never allowed himself. Always running, always fixing, always moving. He closed his eyes. I can't stop. Not when there's still a chance to help. The still point's expression softened. Then there is your answer. The figure extended a hand. If you truly wish to run again, to reawaken existence, you must take part of me with you. You must carry the stillness into your motion. Otherwise, your speed will unmake what you try to save. Barry hesitated. You mean balance. The figure smiled. Exactly. Barry took the hand. Light flooded his vision, searing and pure. When he opened his eyes again, the stars had returned, but they were different. Galaxies shimmered with a faint red. Gold aura, the residue of his speed, merged with the still point's calm. The warp was quieter, subdued, like a beast momentarily chained. Reality itself felt stable again, though fragile. He was back. The universe existed once more, and yet something was wrong. As Barry drifted through the void, he saw shapes moving within the starlight, echoes of himself, hundreds of them, each running in a different direction. Each one was real. Each one was him. He'd fractured again. His essence was scattered across timelines, anchoring reality by existing everywhere at once. The still point's voice echoed faintly. Balance requires sacrifice. Barry clenched his jaw. So that's the price. Each version of him would become a stabilizing force, guardians of the borders between reality and the warp. None would be truly whole again. He would never stop running, not ever. He appeared once more in the Immaterium, above the battered planet of Cadia's ruins, or what was left of them. Imperial ships drifted like broken bones. The echo of war lingered in the dust. A familiar voice crackled across the psychic wind. "Runner, do you hear me?" Barry froze. The voice, cold, regal, ancient, was unmistakable. "The Emperor, I hear you." Barry said quietly, "You have done what even I could not. You have sealed the warp's wound for now. Humanity breathes again because of you." Barry swallowed hard. "It's temporary. The storm will come back." "All things do," the Emperor replied, "but even temporary hope is divine." Barry hesitated. "So what now?" The Emperor's voice softened, not godlike this time, but almost human. "Now, runner, you take your place in the pattern. Every age has its guardian. Every silence needs a heartbeat. You will be that heartbeat between worlds." Barry closed his eyes. "And if I ever stop?" Then the silence wins. He looked out across the stars, endless, fragile, alive. He could feel the fractures of himself racing through them all, versions of him watching over worlds, keeping the boundary between the warp and real space intact. He'd become part of the galaxy's pulse, not a hero, not a god, something in between, the silence between heartbeats. He took one step, and the stars stretched before him once more. "All right," he whispered, "let's keep the universe running." And then, with a flash of red and gold, he was gone. On Terra, the High Lords gathered in the golden throne chamber, speaking in hushed tones. The Emperor's eyes burned faintly, a flicker of life that should have been impossible. And in that golden glow, for a heartbeat that spanned a galaxy, they all heard it, a faint thunder rolling through eternity. A whisper carried on light and faith. "He still runs." That question burned in Barry Allen's mind as he stood at the edge of existence one last time. The stars had gone quiet. The warp, once raging and alive with madness, had turned eerily still, not gone, not healed, but waiting. Something was coming, and he knew it wasn't tease. Inch. He'd felt the god's presence fade weeks ago, if time still meant anything. But in that silence, a deeper vibration stirred, low and constant, like a drumbeat beneath reality. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't order. It was something older, something that watched. Barry's fractured selves, those scattered versions of him spread across galaxies, had begun to blink out one by one. He felt each disappearance like a piece of his soul being peeled away. A version that guarded an imperial shrine world was gone. Another, who kept a warp rift over Macragge sealed, vanished in an instant. Every echo of him, every timeline tether dissolving, he was being pulled back together. Someone or something was calling him home. The void rippled, the starlight dimmed, and through the emptiness he saw it, a vast, skeletal form drifting beyond the veil of the galaxy. Metallic wings folded across eons, eyes like dying suns, a Cetan, but not just any. This one was awake. Its voice scraped across his mind like static over bone. You have tampered with the song of eternity, lightning. You move between beats that are not yours to claim. Barry steadied himself. You're one of the star gods. I thought your kind was shattered. Shattered, yes. Forgotten, never. We are the melody beneath your chaos. And you have run too far. Its words were neither anger nor accusation, they were law. Immutable like gravity. Barry could feel his lightning flickering. The energy that once bound him between realities was fading, consumed by the still point he had carried. The balance was tipping again toward oblivion. He clenched his fists. I didn't run to destroy the universe. I ran to save it. The Cetan's vast, hollow face tilted slightly. Save? There is no saving the infinite. Only rhythm, motion, then silence. You delayed what must come, the long night. The final stillness. Barry looked around. The stars were dimming faster now. Entropy. He whispered, the heat death of the universe. The Cetan smiled, a galaxy collapsing within its grin. Exactly. And you have delayed it too long. Barry felt his knees buckle. For all his speed, for all his will, could he truly fight inevitability? He remembered Iris's laugh, the Emperor's silent gratitude, the Magos' trembling faith, the countless lives that still burned across the galaxy, tiny flames defying the void, and he realized maybe that was the point. Maybe life was never meant to win forever. Maybe it was meant to fight anyway. He stood. Lightning flared again, golden, red and furious. Then I'll keep running. Not to stop the end, but to make sure it never comes quietly. The Cetan's laughter rolled through the cosmos, defiant until the last photon fades. How human! It raised a hand the size of worlds. The stars convulsed, collapsing toward a singularity of black fire. Barry ran. The universe cracked open as he sprinted through it. Time itself warped. Hours became centuries. Centuries became seconds. He could see the death of suns, the final flickers of life on distant worlds, the fall of empires yet unborn. Every step pushed him faster. Every heartbeat tore reality thinner. He could feel the speed force breaking under the strain. And then, at the center of the dying cosmos, he saw it, a point of light, a single spark, suspended in nothingness, the first particle that had ever moved, the birth of motion itself, the beginning of time. He realized with awe, he wasn't just running across the end. He was running back to the beginning. The Cetan followed, slower but inevitable. You cannot escape the circle, lightning. The song ends where it began. Barry turned mid-run, eyes blazing. Then I'll restart it. He dove straight into the spark. For a moment everything vanished. No sound, no thought, no universe. And then, boom, creation. A new explosion of light, energy, and possibility erupted outward. A new cosmos unfolded, not the same as before, but inspired by what came before. Galaxies spiraled into form. Stars ignited with infant fury. Worlds took shape like dreams being rewritten. He had done it. He'd restarted the universe, but there was no celebration. Barry's form was unraveling, his molecules dispersing into the raw energy of this new cosmos. He wasn't dying, not exactly. He was becoming. His lightning spread across the newborn sky, scattering through time itself. Each pulse of light became a heartbeat for a new age. Each spark, a whisper in the dark. Run. He could feel every motion, every orbit, every vibration. The speed force wasn't a place anymore. It was existence, and he was its pulse. The flash was gone, but motion life would never stop again. Eons later, in this new universe, a race of beings stared into their night sky and saw streaks of red, gold light dancing between the stars. They called it the Eternal Runner, a myth of balance and defiance. They told their children, when the void grows silent, the runner will race again to remind the universe, keep moving. And somewhere, beyond time, in a place between beats, a voice whispered, proud, steady, infinite, "My name is Barry Allen, and I am the Speed Force,